Excellency, it's a great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for the invitation, by the way.
We've always spoken, you and I, in private when we have our one-to-one interviews.
A lot of them, but
And
all of them
today,
great.
we have the whole world to actually see us.
Absolutely.
So, good afternoon, everyone. As we all know, Riyadh is buzzing, and there is a good reason behind that. The kingdom's tourism industry is on a record-breaking journey. Just last year, tourists injected a record 135 billion Saudi riyals into the Saudi economy, which is approximately 42.8% increase from the year before. This is truly mind-blowing. And this is not just a blip on the radar. It's a clear sign that Saudi Arabia is becoming a top travel destination. And the impact is also undeniable. Even on the government travel account, the surplus on this account in particular has actually increased by 37.8% in 2023. Those are a lot of numbers. I'm going to keep a little bit for you to share with us, so I'm going to stop here.
That's okay.
So basically, this is not only the end of it, it's just a start. And we are here today to tackle this and discuss Saudi Arabia's journey within the global journey of the tourism industry. Your Excellency, the World Travel and Tourism Council is expecting that this year is going to be a record-breaking year globally in the tourism sector. And they expect travel to surpass all levels, even way before 2019, which already was a stellar year. This surge in international travels presents a significant opportunity for destinations around the world. With that global perspective in mind, what are your thoughts on the key trends driving this tourism boom? What do you expect? Do you expect this to be reflected on the overall numbers of the industry? 3-in-1 questions. And how do you expect Saudi Arabia to capitalize on this trend?
Thank you. That was multiple questions in one question, and it's very also hard to follow Mahmoud, who's our Deputy Minister. By the way, for all the investors for the first time here, make sure that you connect with Mahmoud and his wonderful team. Let me just take this from a global perspective, and then I'll talk about Saudi. And before I do that, I just want to see some hands for the people that is the first time in Saudi, on Riyadh. Would I see some hands, please? Interesting. That's good. At the macro level, WTTC, I used to be their CEO, is forecasting that, as you say, this year we're going to be breaking the record and having better numbers pre-pandemic. That means in 2019, we have, for instance, 1.3 billion international travelers, 1.5. Last year, 1.3. This year, we're going to surpass that. In 2019, we had 10% of the GDP. That was the contribution. This year, we're going to surpass that. This year, we're going to have more people depending on travel and tourism, around 348, that's the estimated million people. And in 2019, we have 330. But let's remember one thing. The Middle East is already better than the pre-pandemics. This is the region that is 20% better pre-pandemic. And let's remember another thing. This country opened to the world on September 27 of 2019, a couple of months before the pre-pandemic. So even that we opened a little bit before the pandemic, we're doing much better than the rest of the world, the region. Yes, China opened late last year, and that's one of the reasons why we haven't recovered. But I would say this year we're going to have macro numbers. And Jonathan mentioned one of the reasons. He said 75% of the travelers or the people prefer actually to enjoy experiences than to acquire goods. And that's a good thing. And I think that the pandemic just proved that to be even better. So people are traveling more. They are spending more time with family. We want to reconnect. So we're looking for those opportunities. Now, that's at the macro level. Let me tell you at the Saudi level. I moved here 3 years ago in 2021, and time flies. This was a very different city when I moved. Every single week, we have new things, new projects, new announcements. I moved here to support the Vision 2030. I was very impressed, and I'm still very impressed and very passionate. And I also moved here to support His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib and his amazing team that they are doing fantastic in terms of the execution. For all the investors that this is their first time in the kingdom, you will find in this country 3 things. This country has a clear vision. We know exactly where we're going, and we know how to get there. This country has exactly the leadership needed to execute, and we're executing in a really speed that you're not going to find elsewhere. And this country also has the resources. And we're investing in giga projects through PIF, and we're also investing in infrastructure, in tourism, and the wonderful private sector doing an amazing job as well, investing hand in hand with the government. That being said, that's also increasing the opportunities for investors. We not only have the giga projects, we have the zones that later they are going to share. If you can make it to an event, a side event that we're going to be hosting later, I believe it's at 7 p.m., you can learn about the different regions that we're promoting and the different opportunities because we're partnering with the private sector. When I was in WTTC, I had the chance to talk to more than 150 governments from around the world. And what I can tell you, because I'm also a former minister, as you know, in Mexico, sometimes the governments, sometimes they talk too much and little action. I would say that Saudi is exactly the opposite. Too much action and little talk. Here we're spending most of the time in executing. So for the ones that have been here before, you have already seen that. Every time that you come back to Riyadh, I'm sure that you see something new. For the newbies, you will see also the number of opportunities, which is aligned to what you were saying. The numbers are great. We broke the record. Mahmoud mentioned that. We had more than 100 million tourists last year, domestic and international. 7 years ahead. 7 years ahead. That's very easy to say, but there was a lot of work behind. 27 million of those were international. That is massive for a country that just opened before the pandemic. And yes, that's a big applause for the ecosystem and everyone. And that tells you about the potential. And we're just, you can see just the tip of the iceberg because it's immense. It's very important.
Now, the targets are all, as you have said, they were there regarding the 100 million visitors. And then they were recently increased to 150.
Yes.
7 years ahead of time.
That's a challenging news, yes.
Do you think that we might hear one day an additional increase in those targets?
Well, we'll
Maybe
see. It depends. If the work still continues delivering the results, of course, we can see those KPIs, which is fascinating. And I share this with my friends from the private sector because most of my career has been in the private sector. Yes, now I work for the government of Saudi, and I used to work for the government of Mexico. But what's unique about Saudi is that this country is running away like the private sector. We have KPIs, we have goals, we have quarterly meetings. They review our KPIs quarterly. You better be on plan, and if not, you have to explain why. So most likely, if we achieve those numbers before 2030, absolutely, they increase the target, which is good news. That means that things are moving really fast. So it's a great number, 100 million, as I say, domestic and international. But now, as I say, sky's the limit because the investments are totally unprecedented. What we have seen that the government is doing in this country, there's no another example in the world. I have never seen something like this in my 30 years of career.
Interesting. And we're looking forward to seeing more and more achievements and more increase on those targets. Now, as we all know, Saudi Arabia is boldly undertaking unique, large-scale tourism projects, and they are all being done at the same time. And the size is really unprecedented. Developing these mega projects undoubtedly comes with its own sets of challenges, and we all know about that. Even a small building sometimes can have some delays and sometimes not. So looking at these huge structures and huge projects coming all together, can you elaborate on some of the key challenges that are being faced right now? And what are the untapped opportunities which we can actually consider that are not fully yet explored?
Yeah, like everything, we have multiple challenges. Of course, we have the external challenges, the geopolitical, and what we see, the weather. Every single crisis impacts our sector, as we know. And we also have internal challenges. Our challenges, I would say, yes, we have very ambitious plans and a lot of pieces moving, but we have a plan, and we are executing according to that plan. The challenges basically is that we want to train Saudis to be part of our sector, and we wish we can do that faster. We have multiple avenues that we are executing as we speak. The ministry is training Saudis abroad. We announced the Global Academy. We're partnering with universities here. That is very important, but it would be wonderful if we can train them faster. And here the private sector is also helping us to train these Saudis. And as a result, if you look at the people employed in this country, also the gender is very important. Almost 1 million people are employed, 45%, which means one of every two is a female, a woman, which is fantastic. So a lot of progress is being made. Now, another challenge is that we have very ambitious projects, and sometimes the government moves faster than the private sector, which is different than in other countries. In other countries, the private sector moves really fast. Here we also have some leaders of the private sector that are moving faster with us together, but I would say the SMEs are taking more time. They need more support. And of course, we wish we can support them and so that they can accelerate in this transition. So there are multiple challenges. We are aware about them. We're working with them. We have a plan, and the ecosystem is very structured. We have some challenges with connectivity. So that's why we have an air connectivity program. That's why we announced a new airline, Riyadh Air. That's why we announced new airports. We have some challenges defining and developing product. That's why we launched the clusters, and the clusters have identified all the opportunities. There are 13 regions in the country, and we know exactly what is needed and where are those opportunities. If you would like more details, I would say connect with the Ministry of Tourism, with our Deputy Minister and his team, and they can tell you exactly where are the opportunities, and more important, how do we do it together? Do you need support from other locals to invest with you? Do you need support from TDF in terms of debt? Do you need support in equity? We can work with ASFAR. We have multiple solutions, and they can also explain how to do business and the different incentives that we have launched to partner with the private sector. So multiple opportunities that I will need hours to go through them here, and we don't have the time.
I don't think we have the time. I'm going to just ask you one last question. So your personal, your experience and your insights are invaluable in shaping Saudi Arabia's tourism sector. You were part of it, and you're still part of it. So as someone deeply involved in this excitement journey and transformation, what has been your personal experience navigating this journey? And looking ahead, what are you most optimistic about?
To me, I knew about Saudi before coming here. My first time to come to the kingdom was in 2013. Then I came back in 2015. And I was very connected to Saudi as a former minister, of course. What I would say, the greatest, I don't want to say surprise, but something that I'm very impressed is the level and the quality of the people. Very well educated, fully bilingual. That's the problem why I don't speak Arabic, unfortunately, because everyone speaks English, right? Very high standards, which is fantastic. And to me, that has been something very nice. We Mexicans, I'm Mexican, we're very picky in hospitality. And what I have found here is that Saudis go above and beyond to bring nice hospitality. And I believe, and I have said this multiple times, the best of Saudi are the Saudis. And this is something that we should capitalize on that, because you see them in great hospitality, welcoming to your house, their houses, and offering you a meal. It's very nice. That's something that makes me feel at home, to tell you the truth. And at the same time, you also have the professionalism so that you can do business for the long term and be profitable as well as an investor.
So we're lucky to be among them.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
I think we no longer have any time left, even though we can stay forever. But
thank you. No, but thank you for the opportunity. And we'll be around. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach me or reach out the team. And welcome to Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.